Um, in the meantime, we have another guest to talk about one of the launches from today. I'm your host, Nathan Peck.
I'm Boaz.
And I'm Kaustubh Khanke.
All right, so tell us, what did your team launch today, and why is it going to be really exciting for customers?
Sure, Nathan. So essentially today we launched a new feature within our contact lens for Amazon Connect service called the call summarization. So a little bit about insight about what it's all about. So Amazon Connect is our omni-channel cloud contact center that we've built within AWS, which is basically a service that lets you set up your own contact center in under 10 minutes. So whether that's a business developer or it's a business user who has no technical experience, you can stand up your own contact center in a matter of minutes. So that's Amazon Connect, and within
It's
Amazon.
super popular, as we heard today in
Oh
Adam's
yes,
keynote.
yes, absolutely.
I can understand why. Like, if I'm a small startup, I always think about contact centers as being
Yep.
the domain of the large company.
Exactly.
But what if I'm a
I was
smart
able to run a
startup?
contact center. Like, I have my instance of Connect, and it's super easy.
It really is. So I highly encourage everyone to try it out just as an exercise where
Find my number here. No, just kidding.
just going into the AWS console, if you can just try it out, you'll see how easy it is to stand up your own contact center, whether you're a small business or you're a large multinational enterprise. So within Amazon Connect, we have a ton of different features, right? And one of these features is Contact Lens. So Contact Lens is a set of our machine learning capabilities that enables you to get visibility into customer trends and sentiment across your entire contact center. Basically, you can get a turn-by-turn transcript along with things like sentiment analysis. You can categorize your calls based on different types of issues. You can also redact sensitive information, things like social security numbers, customer names, addresses. So you can do a ton of these things within Contact Lens, and all of this is baked into Amazon Connect in a way that you don't need to do a lot of the technical heavy lifting. You don't need to be an engineer, or you don't need to be a machine learning scientist to start using some of these capabilities.
That was released in 2019, if I remember correctly.
Correct, yeah, exactly. So it was just about 2 years ago at this reInvent conference where we launched Contact
I remember I
Lens.
was doing a workshop on on Connect, and then they just released that.
Yep, absolutely.
So a lot of times when I call into a provider who has a contact center, the first thing I hear is a little message, disclaimer that says, this call may be recorded for analytics purposes or training purposes.
Yep, absolutely.
Tell me a little bit more about what happens after that, and then how does Amazon Connect help with that now?
Right. So I think every company has their own policies that they want the agents to follow. For example, you may want to make sure that anytime a caller comes in, you tell them, hey, this call is being recorded for quality assurance purposes. Or maybe it's about saying something like, thank you for being a valued rewards member, right? But it's not possible for a supervisor, in legacy contact centers to figure out, if my agents are saying those things when they should be saying those things, right? With Contact Lens, what you can do is you can look for specific keywords or phrases that are being uttered on conversations, and make sure there's a category tag against a call whenever that occurs. So for example, if you had the case of thank you for being a valued customer, right? You could actually have a phrase there that you could look for within a category, and you can make sure that those calls are monitored and tracked.
How that was done before machine learning?
So a lot of it was just random sampling, where it was supervisors having to pick and choose random calls and then look at potential issues that were there, which is super time consuming for a lot of supervisors, right? Like having to maybe listen to an entire recording. It can be the calls could be 10 minutes long, right? Like, how do you know which part of the call to focus on? Similarly, if you're...
I can imagine probably the most difficult calls, too, are the ones that take the longest.
Exactly.
Someone might be on the line 30 minutes while they try to resolve an issue, and now, as a supervisor, I'm having to listen to a 30-minute call to try to figure out what happened and what went wrong.
Yes, exactly. And I think the other thing is, even if you have a transcript, if you have a 10-minute long or a 20-minute long call, now you need to browse through the entire transcript to understand what's happening in here, right? And this is the perfect segue to what we've basically launched. So call summarization, essentially what it does is it takes a look at your call transcript, and then we have machine learning models that we built that can identify key conversation details within that transcript, right? So for example, there are three main components to what a call summary comprises of. there's the issue, the reason that the customer is calling it, right? Which is like obviously it's the super important thing that you're trying to figure out on any call. You want to identify what's the reason that someone's calling in. At the same time, you also want to know what was the outcome of that call, right? Like what happened at the end of the call? Did the customer issue get resolved, or was there something else that happened at the end of the call? And finally, you also want to make sure that if there are any action items that need to come out of that call, you're able to track and manage that, right? Specifically because, like, let's say if I, as an agent, make a promise to you and say, I'm going to give you a follow-up email, or I'm going to call you back within 48 hours.
So how to make sure that it actually happens? Yeah.
Exactly, and if I don't call you back, now I, as a customer, I'm going to be frustrated with the experience that the business is providing. So that's where the summary component, that is the action item, helps you track and monitor these things in a way that you can make sure those commitments are kept and you delight your customers and give them a better customer experience.
And I assume that if you detect that there is a repeating issue, for example,
right,
that might be a red flag for you to talk with the team that is in charge of this specific product, to tell them, look guys, there is a problem, something repeating in my calls, you should check your product or something like that. And that can be much faster than finding it out after the fact or after a few days when your representatives comes to you and say, I get repeating calls that I assume this is what was used to happen.
And because it's machine learning, it's watching all the calls. So unlike a supervisor who's just going to sample a few of them, you could have 10,000 calls that come in, and it's going to pull out the statistics and say, of those 10,000 calls, we saw this issue 9,000 times. And I'm going to be like, whoa, okay, that's a huge issue.
Exactly. Like, it's all about getting that unprecedented visibility across your contact centers, right? And it's not just like you were saying, it's not just after the call, it's also during the calls, right? So we have real-time capabilities within Contact Lens that we announced at last reInvent, which was basically helping supervisors identify calls when they're going south, and then helping them get the attention to the agents when needed. So
I'm super curious about how the machine learning works. How much prep work do I have to do? Do I have to say, for example, I am a restaurant business and I expect that my issues are going to be like lost, food order never arrived, or like food order was missing the fries or something like that, right?
Got it.
Do I have to preset that up?
No, and I think that's the best part about call summarization is a lot of our machine learning models within Contact Lens are built for business users, for non-technical users who probably have not a lot of knowledge about the engineering aspects of machine learning or the machine learning itself. So in this case, call summarization, it works straight out of the box. So you don't need to provide us any data. Neither do you need to train a model or specifically customize it to your experience. Whether you're in the financial services industry, whether you're in the retail industry, whether you're in the travel and hospitality industry, the call summarization is designed to try and find those conversation details across the board.
Wow, that is impressive. So it's adaptable. I don't have to set it up.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Can we have a look at the product?
Of course, of course. So let's take a look at how an experience looks within the Amazon Connect environment. So this is what we call as the contact trace record or the contact detail page. So with Contact Lens, you get a lot of cool visualizations, regarding sentiment trends and distribution of talk time, whether it's customer talk time, non-talk time. And if you actually scroll down this page, you'll see that along with the recording and transcript, you now have this new toggle button here, right on your screen, which says Show Transcript Summary, right? So when you turn this thing on, what it's going to do is it's going to take away all the extraneous parts of the transcript and just keep the key components that I was talking about, right? Like, for example, what is the issue? So in this case, we can see the customer's calling in about an car accident that they had, and they want to file a claim. So you can see that the issue is clearly highlighted here, saying, okay, this is what the call was about. Next, let's look at what was the outcome, right? Like now, if you see the agent here is guiding the customer and saying, I've just sent you a message via text. All you need to do is take pictures of your car and upload it, and that's all the information that we need. So we know how the call progressed and what was the end state that was.
Actually, it can be used for training for other agents as well, like to find the best solutions.
Exactly. I mean, like supervisor, it's not about always finding the wrong examples, right? You don't always want to find the issues. You also want to find good circumstances, good handling of calls, and commend your agents on it. So this is actually a good way for you to identify those things.
So this is what the summary looked like. What did the full transcript look like? Because I kind of see a hint here. It says agent 48 seconds, agent 102. Yep. I'm imagining the full transcript was much longer, right?
Exactly, and I can show you that, right? So here you have finally the action item as well with the details that the agent is promising to send. But if you want to expand it, to the full view, all you have to do is hit this toggle button here, and voila, you have the entire transcript in front of you, where you can actually go through the transcript and try to understand, what was the context around it, right? What kind of car were they driving? Now you can see that the customer here is mentioning like they were driving a Tesla. So there's like a bunch of these details that you can get outside of the transcript, the summary of the transcript, if in case you think you need more details. And again, like it's all at the matter of checking that particular button, and you can go back and forth between as many issues as you as many times as you want. Again,
I think earlier you had hinted that there was potentially integration where I could see like statistics or metrics and identify like top issues. Is there a way to see like that? Okay, I'm getting a lot of fender benders coming in.
Yeah, exactly, and I think that ties in really well with our categorization feature, where you can actually look for specific types of known issues that are occurring in your contact center, right? Like for example, now that I know that fender bender is one of the top issues that I'm seeing in terms of like terms being used by the customer, I can actually create a category for it and start tracking it, right? That's where, if you see this example here, you have this categories section on the page which tells you all the things that I've set categories for and that have matched this particular call. So you can see there's one for agent introduction. So I know that the agent has introduced themselves, the agents followed the proper conclusion policy. I can see that there was some customer escalation request on this call, and there was like an upset customer. So I can actually see all of those things here. And all of that is as a result of being able to identify those issues really quickly with the call summary. So once I identify an issue in the call summary, I can create categories for it and start tracking it maybe month over month or year over year and see trends across my contact center and take steps to address those things accordingly.
I can see that you can actually replay here the call, so if I do want to go into listening mode, it will really help me to understand which part of the call I should focus on.
Exactly, and I think that's what the timestamps that you were alluding to a little earlier, like this is basically your opportunity to just click on one part of the transcript and say, hey, I want to listen to only that section, and like try to understand what the customer's tone was during that time, or what they were saying. And if I just click that, it'll actually take me to that part of the recording and it'll play me just that section. Whereas historically, what you would have had to do is listen to that entire call, but like I mentioned, like now you don't have to do that. You can select specific portions of the call and go back and forth and try to analyze only those sections.
I also saw down there on the transcript, it redacted some personally identifying information. Is that also powered by machine learning?
Yes, that is also powered by machine learning. So we do redaction, by the way, not just in the call transcript, but we also do redaction in the audio itself. So anytime there is a mention of a personally identifiable information like names or addresses or credit card details or social security numbers, we'll redact it in the transcript, and in the audio recording, if you actually listen to it, instead of the PII, what you will hear is just silence. And then you can control who gets access to this redacted information and who gets access to the unredacted information.
And obviously without PII, you can expand the list of people that can actually access
Exactly. You can make it available to a wider set of your organization. Just think about how much value this could offer if you could take this information outside of just the contact center stuff and take it to your product teams. Right? Because now the product teams can have voice of the customer's insights into what's happening in the business.
So as a product person, I see this transcript that says, I read on your website that it's possible to get something, and I see the action item was, inquiry is we're no longer supporting that benefit. So now as a product team, I say, wow, I need to fix the website.
Exactly.
The website has outdated information on it.
Either I go figure out, okay, there is still customer demand for this and I need to bring it back, or I need to do something where I direct customers elsewhere. Right? So these are the kind of decisions that you're now taking outside of just the contact center.
Converting those anecdotes we're using to fix things to real facts can be reused, can be reshared.
Yep, absolutely.
I love that. Wow.
Okay.
So this seems like it's an absolute game changer for call centers. I'm really excited to see how this tech is utilized by folks because it seems extremely powerful, and I love the idea that I don't have to be super technically deep. I don't have to train my own model.
Absolutely.
I just plug the data in, and I'm getting these summaries out of the box.
Absolutely.
How could customers get started with this?
Right, so first of all, for call summarization, like I mentioned, you don't need to do any configuration. It works straight out of the box. So as long as you're using contact lens today, you should already have started seeing call summarizations in your environment.
Wow.
And if you aren't a contact lens customer yet, all you have to do is select a couple of checkboxes within Amazon Connect, and you can get started in a matter of minutes. So there's no coding required.
Is there any extra charge for this?
No, no extra charges beyond whatever you're paying for contact lens.
It's part of contact lens.
So it is part of contact lens, and you can get avail of it like absolutely free of charge.
Yep.
Everybody just got a huge upgrade on their contact centers.
Absolutely, yeah. And
the power of cloud.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the fact we have a contact center in the cloud.
Well, thank you very much for your time, and I'm looking forward to seeing how people utilize this.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right.